Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gaura Chandra.
Jaya Nityananda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Nityananda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Bonita ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So we are reading from the Madhya Lila, chapter 13. The Lord's dancing at the Rath Yatra, text number 70. Agishuna Jagannathera Gundicha Kamana Taragi Prabhu Yaichi Karila Naratana. Translation. Now please hear about Lord Jagannath going to the Gundicha temple. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced before the Rath Yatra car, the Lord performed kirtan for some time, and through his own endeavour he inspired all the devotees to dance. When the Lord himself wanted to dance, all the 7 groups combined together. The Lord's devotees, including Srivas, Ramai, Raghu, Govinda, Mukunda, Haridas, Govindanandana, Madhava, and Govinda, they all combined together. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu desired to jump high while dancing, he placed these 9 people in charge of Sri Damodar. Then the devotees, Sri Damodar and the other devotees in his charge, sang along with the Lord. They also ran beside him. All the other groups also sang, offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face towards Jagannath and he prayed as follows: Namo Brahmanaya Devaya Go Brahmanatya Cha Jagataya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Let me offer my respectful obeisance unto Lord Sri Krishna, who is the worshipful deity for all Brahmanical men, who is the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmanas, and who is always benefiting the whole world. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead known as Govinda. Jayati Chatu Devo Devaki Nandanashu Jayati Jayati Krishna Krishni Pumsa Padipa. Jayati Jayati Mega Shamlaya Kamalango Jayati Jayati Briti Bharat Nasho Mukha Mukunda. All glories unto the Supreme Person of Godhead, who is known as the Son of Devaki. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as the light of the dynasty of Vishnu. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose bodily luster is like that of a new cloud, whose body is as soft as lotus flower. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appeared in the planet to deliver the whole world from the burden of demons, and who can offer liberation to everyone. This verse is from the Mukunda Malla. Jayati Jananivasa Devaki Tanmapadu Paru Svado Pirmam Matana Stirachira Regina Vichina Gyashamita Shimukina Prajapuri Ranitanam Chatayam Kamadevam. Lord Shri Krishna is also known as Jananivasa with a hyphen, the ultimate result of all living entities, who is known as Devaki Nandana or Jasoda Nandana, the son of Devaki and Jasoda. He is also known as the guide of the Jadunandan, the Jadu dynasty. And with his mighty arms he kills everything inauspicious, as well as every man who is impure. By his presence he destroys all things inauspicious for all living entities, moving and inert. His blissful, smiling face is always increasing the lusty appetite of the gopis of Vrindavan. May he be all glorious and happy. Offering obeisances to the Lord with folded hands, Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu raised his face towards Lord Jagannath and he prayed as follows. This is Mahaprabhu's prayers. Jayati Jayati Devi and Jayati Jananivasa Prabhu, with different names. So God is he has no name. But he's named according to his pastime. It's like here, Jayati Jayati. Nivasho Devaki Janma was born from Devaki, the womb of Devaki. So because he appears from Devaki, he is known as Devaki Nandan. Janma Rana. He is born of Devaki, so he gets the name Devaki Nandan. He is known as Kamadevayam, he clears lusty desires. So he is known as Devaki Nandan, son of Devaki Nandan. Or Jasoda, the son of Jasoda. So, wherever Krishna goes, he performs some activity, and because of that activity, then he gets a name. Otherwise, he has no name.
What is the meaning of Jananivas?
Huh?
What is the meaning of
Meaning of Jananivas with a hyphen. Jayati eternally lives gloriously. Jana Nivash. We always pronounce it Jananivas. But there's a hyphen in between the Jana and the Nivash. Jana means person, Nivasha means the dwelling place. So that person who dwells in everyone's heart is Jananivas. So that is indicating the Paramatma, so in the heart. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was chanting these prayers to Lord Jagannath, in front of Lord Jagannath. Naham Charapati Na Vaishana Shudra Naham Pani Charapati Na Vanashtu Nasto Yatirva Kintu Padam Nikila Paramananda Pranam Nikampadu Gopi Parvat Das Anudas. Another Brahmana, another Kachya, another Vaishya, another Sutra. Nor am I a brahmachari, or a householder, or a vanaprastha, or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He's like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He's always existing with brilliance. The Mahaprabhu quoted this is from Padma Patibali. Patibali. And Mahaprabhu used to chant these mantras that Mahaprabhu chanted in front of Jagannath. So the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they like these mantras actually, when Mahaprabhu was reciting to Jagannath. Because he personally, he didn't write, he only left 6 slokas. He was chanting at the Rath Yatra different kind of slokas. So that's the Gaudiya like that. So anyway, he's pointing out here, no Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. None of these material identities, they're all material identities, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya. But still we see Mahaprabhu identified himself as a Brahmana to a certain extent. He said, I'm a Brahmana, his father had died, he has to maintain the family, he has to get some income, some charity. So he left, but he did Brahminical activities, preaching and things like that, because he was quite famous. So in this way he got money for his maintenance. He wasn't begging for anyone for money. I mean, as a beggar, that he would collect donations, people would collect donations. So he identifies himself as coming from a Brahminical community. And Krishna also, he identifies himself as coming from the Vaishya community. You see in the Govardhan Lila, he says that Nanda Baba, our relationship is with Govardhan and the cows. What have we got to do with Indra? We're a Vaishya community, which is to look after the cows. And so Krishna himself there is identifying as a Vaishya. We are a Vaishya community in Nanda Baba. And factually Krishna takes the cows out. He looks after the calves and cows and takes the cows. This is the Supreme Personality of God. Philosophically we understand that. And of course these are eternal pastimes. It's not, although he is an eternal Brahmana. He is an eternal Vaishya. These pastimes are revolving around these features. As a Brahmana, he's chanting Harinam Sankirtan and inducing all world to chant Hare Krishna, establishing the Yuga Dharma, which only God can do. And as a Vaishya, he's tending to the cows, looking after the cows, milking the cows even. So this goes on eternally. Krishna's pastimes are revolved around this. How Krishna can, just like Krishna in the morning, every morning after his bathing and everything, he goes out with his cowboy friends and the calves. He does it every day. But that's a good medium to get away from the village and the elderly people, because Krishna's main interest is with Radharani. So, how to meet Radharani in the forest? So, the gopis will make up some excuse. We're going to worship the sun god or something like that. We have to collect water from them. So we have to go out, and Krishna, we have to take the cows out because we have to take them grazing and wandering all over the place. We have to look after them. So like that gives Krishna a chance to go eat that village also and go to the forest. And Radharani gets her chance and they go. So then again they meet at midday. Radha Kunda, then they have their loving pastimes. So the medium is looking after cows and calves. So this is going on eternally. It's a medium. Otherwise, how will they be able to be alone without the parents around? The cow is a wonderful excuse because the cows have to wander, they have to graze, and they can't graze in one place too long because there's no grass there, so they have to keep moving and going different places. So they have so this becomes their situation, how they can act as Vaishya. So this is going on eternally. So Krishna is a Vaishya. And Mahaprabhu's pastimes are going on eternally. So you can say he is a Brahmana. But practically speaking, in this material world, and we have to see things philosophically, and we can understand I'm not this body. And nothing is eternal here. The universe is just temporary also, the whole universe. So I'm identifying myself as belonging to this universe as one of these designations, Brahmana, Kachavaishya, etc. So like it's the same thing then. Then Krishna, Mahaprabhu uses as an excuse to be out with the boys, and they go and meet Radharani and the gopis. So text 81. Text 81. Having recited all these verses from Scripture, the Lord again offered his obeisances, and all the devotees with folded hands also offered the prayers to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Caitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, roaring like thunder, and moving like a circle, like a wheel, he appeared like a circling firebrand. If a burning cinder or a firebrand is whirled around very swiftly, it gives the appearance of a circle of fire. You've done this when you have a fire on the stick, and it looks like a continuous circle, but it's not continuous. So Mahaprabhu will look like that. Firebrand circle. The whole circle is actually made of fire. The whole thing is actually made of fire, but because of the single fire in motion, the whole circle is not actually made of fire, but it's a single fire in motion. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a single personality, but when he danced, jumped high in a circle, he appeared like the Alata Chakra. Alata Chakra means a circle of fire. So there's a part in the Caitanya Caritamrita. It says that the Panchatattva, they were dancing, laughing, crying, falling down, all symptoms. And in this way they were spreading love of Godhead. So in the Purple Prabhu said, actually we never saw this happen, that everybody was immersed in love of Godhead. He said, but the Panchatattva set it in motion. So it's in motion, it's going to come, it's a matter of time. It's like, he said, similarly, the international side of Krishna consciousness has been set into motion. So therefore, when they say that, he's saying that the whole universe was chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, we never saw that, but they set it in motion. And in time it's going to become, this way it's going to spread all over the world, Krishna consciousness. all over the universe. But they set it in motion, the Panchatattva set it in motion. Wherever Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would step while dancing, the whole earth with its hills and seas appeared to tilt. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced, he displayed various blissful transformations, changes in his body. Sometimes he appeared as though stunned. Sometimes the hairs on his body stood on end. Sometimes he perspired, cried, trembled, and changed colour. And sometimes he exhibited symptoms of helplessness, pride, exuberance, and humility. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down with a crash while dancing, he would roll on the ground, and sometimes it appeared that a golden mountain was rolling on the ground. Nityananda Prabhu would stretch out his two hands and try to catch the Lord when he was running here and there. Advaita Prabhu would walk behind the Lord and loudly chant, Hari Bol, Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
again and again. Hari Bol,
Hari Bol,
just to check the crowds from coming too near the Lord. The devotees formed 3 circles. The first circle was guided by Nityananda Prabhu, who is Balaram himself, possessor of great strength. And the devotees headed by Keshishvara and Govinda linked hands and formed a second circle around the Lord. Maharaj Prataparuddha and his personal associates formed the third circle around the inner 2 circles, just to check the crowds from coming too near. With his hands on his shoulders of Harichandra, King Prataparuddha could see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and the king felt great ecstasy. When the king beheld the dancing of Srivas standing in front of him, he became so ecstatic as he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing. Seeing Srivas was standing before him, before the king, Harichandra touched Srivas with his hand and requested him to step aside. The king is this. Absorbed in watching Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dance, Srivas Thakur could not understand why he was being touched and pushed. Then after he pushed again and again, he became angry. Srivas Thakur slapped his face, stopped him from pushing him in. And in return, this made Harishchandra very angry. As the angered Harishchandra was about to speak to Srivas Thakur, Prataparuddha Maharaj personally stopped him. King Prataparuddha said, "You are very fortunate, for you have been touched by the grace of Srivas Thakur. I am not so fortunate. You should feel obliged to him." Like the old lady who is in the temple, Jagannath temple, and she wanted to get darshan of Jagannath, so she climbed up on Lord Chaitanya's shoulders and she was getting a darshan of Lord Jagannath. Everyone was, "Come down here." Mahaprabhu is a sannyasi. You're climbing on his shoulders, come down, come down. And Mahaprabhu said, no, leave her up there, leave her. I wish I had that enthusiasm. She's only absorbed in seeing Jagannath. She wants to, under any circumstance, she just wants to see Lord Jagannath. She's so fortunate. So a similar kind of mood here. So everyone was astonished at the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is the pastime of Chadurani, the artist, ISKCON artist, one of the famous paintings. And when she was painting some pictures, no, she wasn't painting pictures, she was doing something on the Vyasa sign, making a new Vyasa sign, backdrop or something. And she said to Sri Prabhupada, "Okay, if I stand on your Vyasa sign so I can fix something." And Prabhupada said, in service to Krishna, you can stand on my head. I think we indicated it a couple of times. In service, you can do anything. And when Mahaprabhu's servant, Mahaprabhu went to sleep, I think after lunch, he went to sleep. And his servant was inside the temple. Or Mahaprabhu was more on the outside. So he's on the inside, so he's massaging Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's feet. He was going to take some rest for a little while. So to relax his feet, and he started to massage his legs. He came inside the temple. It was only a little place. He had to step over Mahaprabhu, so he stepped over him. And then he went and lay down and had a little nap, sleep. Then Mahaprabhu woke up and he said, "Oh, why are you still here? You should have gone and taken prasad, whatever." And he said, "Well, I was engaged in your service, so I couldn't come." He said, your body was laying by the door and I couldn't. Unless I step over your body, I have to stay here, but I didn't want to step over your body." And Mahaprabhu said, "Well, to get into the temple, you cross my body. So why didn't you do the same thing?" He said, "That's different. I come in for seva, for service to you. That is different. But this was for my sense gratification, going to my home." Particularly. So it's the mood that's called Vaishnava culture, some different moods and ways of affecting devotees. Bhava Janardana, Krishna was attracted by the devotional attitude, the devotional sentiment behind the activity, not so much the activity itself, but the sentiment behind. In other words, when they have love for Krishna, then you can do many things. If you don't have love for Krishna, you're restricted to the rules and regulations of society. But if you have love for Krishna, sometimes that love supersedes the rituals. Just like Buddha's mother gave Krishna a banana skin, banana peel. She threw the banana away. So Krishna liked the Indian, so that this was a love for Krishna. She fed him a banana skin. Krishna accepted it. Everyone was astonished by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, and even Lord Jagannath became extremely happy to see him. Excuse me. The car came to a complete standstill and remained immobile, while Lord Jagannath, with unblinking eyes, watched the dancing of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even Jagannath was seeing incredible dancing of Mahaprabhu. The goddess of fortune, Subhadra, and Lord Balaram both felt extreme happiness and ecstasy within their hearts. Indeed, they were seen smiling and dancing. So Subhadra and Lord Balaram also felt great happiness and ecstasy. And they were smiling at his dancing. I had an experience in Jagannath Puri with Rath Yatra. And this is before I met the devotees in Puri. And I could see his son Lord Jagannath, the whole town stops. The whole town of Puri stops on Jagannath. Yeah. All the bus routes are diverted and everything like that. And I'm hearing all this music coming out and then broadcasting, and all these songs. It sounded like Hindi film song. That's all I knew. But when I was listening more closely, I could hear they were chanting Jagannath's name, Subhadra, and so like the whole town was alive with Jagannath. Even the broadcasting was reporting and chanting the names of Jagannath and Balaram. And it was such a beautiful feeling there. Everyone was dancing and chanting, and I began to see Jagannath everywhere, on the ocean, the horizon of the ocean. I could see Jagannath's eyes, two big eyes on the horizon. There's no Krishna conscious that time. But everywhere was looking, you could see Jagannath's eyes. And then smiling. I went, the Gundicha was there, so Jagannath was staying outside for the night in the chariot at the Gundicha temple. So I was staying there. There's all different groups of devotees, all different. Everybody loves Jagannath. So. And they were there with a Ekatara Jai Jagannath, Jai Jagannath, songs are for Lord Jagannath, but they were little groups all over the place. Everyone was taking rest as well, and Balaram, Subhadra and Balaram were there. And I was just wandering around. And then I was standing in front of Subhadra, and it was one of those timeless things. And I thought, I was just looking into the face of Subhadra, and then her smile, she had a big smile, and it was like the whole universe was smiling. The smile was so big it encompassed the whole of the universe. And I was just absorbed. And I became very self-conscious. I thought, I've probably been standing here about an hour, just because I forgot about time or space or anything. And I was just absorbed. I thought, everybody's looking at me and they must be thinking, what's he doing? He must be crazy. He's just not moving. He's been felt like he'd been standing there forever, hours on end. It was probably only a few seconds, a minute or something. But yeah, it was like the whole universe was smiling, Subhadra. And the fact that's her position, she is the whole universe. And also I was happy to read that again in Abhiram Thakur. Abhiram Thakur, he pays obeisances to different deities. Sometimes if they were properly consecrated, they may crack. Or the Shalagram may break if it's not bona fide. Or children they may lose their children in the womb also, if you pay these obeisances. So Abhiram Thakur, when Gangadasi was born, then he went and paid the obeisances. He said, I paid my obeisances 11 times and nothing happened. So she is a bona fide child. She's bona fide. And he wrote one, Abhiram Thakur, I think 11 slokas or 8, must be an Astanera. He wrote this poetry, more than 8 verses. And he said, then when I came to you and paid my obeisances, it was like the entire universe was smiling along with you. Oh, I had that understanding. Like the entire universe was smiling. So she's the Supreme Mother of the universe. in her form as Durga. Otherwise, the Subhadra is the internal potency. The external potency is the reflection of Subhadra. Yeah, I felt happy when I read that. Abhiram Thakur's sloka. When I looked at you, it was like the whole universe was smiling at me. I knew you were going to fight. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu danced and jumped high, 8 wonderful transformations indicative of divine ecstasy were seen in his body. All his symptoms were visible simultaneously. His skin erupted with goose pimples, and the hairs on his body stood on end, and his body resembled a shimuli silk cotton tree, all covered with thorns. We were just talking about that. Shimuli tree with thorns. Indeed, the people came afraid just to see his teeth chatter. They thought they were going to break and fall out, his teeth. And they even thought his teeth would fall out. I'll have to go to the dentist. Dance with Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whole body flowed with perspiration and at the same time oozed blood. He made the sound Jaja Gaga, Jaja Gaga, and the voice choked with ecstasy. Tears came forcibly from his eyes of the Lord, as if it were from a syringe, and all the people surrounding him became wet. I tell that story of Rukmini. Take Rukmini. Prabhupada came to take darshan of Rukmini Dwapadish. Is it? In Los Angeles, anyway. Los Angeles. And she was standing just inside the deity room, and Prabhupada was just behind, come to pay his obeisances. So everyone was paying obeisances, but Prabhupada was standing with folded hands. He was looking at Rukmini Dwapadish. And she wasn't paying her obeisances, but she could see Prabhupada. And she said that all of a sudden the water came from Prabhupada's eyes. It jumped so far out of his eyes, it went over Prabhupada's head. And some devotees who were paying obeisances felt the water. Where did that water coming from? So she saw it. It was forcibly, it's like a string.
Jai.
Jai. Sometimes he appeared stunned, and sometimes he rolled on the ground. Sometimes his legs and hands became as hard as dry wood, and he did not move. When the Lord fell on the ground, sometimes his breathing almost stopped. When the devotees saw this, their lives became very much feeble. The water flowed from his eyes, and sometimes through his mouth and nostrils, and foam fell from his mouth. These flowerings appeared to be torrents of nectar descending from the moon. The foam was white, foam was coming. Symptom of madness in dog, they get that. What's that dog disease?
In Bengali we call it mirgi.
Huh?
In Bengali we call it mirgi.
Mariki.
Just tremble and foam comes out.
Yeah, the dog has a special name. It becomes very poisonous, his teeth. Anyway. So they're very worried when this would happen. After his breathing almost stopped. They would become very concerned. So these flowings of foam appear to be moon. This is coming from the moon. The foam fell from his mouth of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and it was taken and drunk by Shubhananda, because he was very fortunate and expert in relishing the mellows of ecstatic love of Krishna.
He got the foam.
He was able to get that foam.
Jai.
After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed his devastating dance for some time, his mind entered in a mood of ecstatic love.
Devastating? 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 What?
Devastating. There is some thoughts, sometimes you just whole world would shake, right? Shake. Yeah, after abandoning his dancing, the Lord ordered Sri Damodar to sing. Understanding his mind, Sri Damodar began to sing as follows. Shaitara Paranatha Patino Yata Lagi Mandana Dahan Juri Geru. Now I have gained the Lord of my life, in the absence of whom I was being burned by Cupid and was withering away. This song refers to Srimati Radharani meeting Krishna at the holy place of Kurukshetra, where Lord Krishna and his brother and sister, they came to visit there for a solar eclipse. It is a song of separation from Krishna. When Radharani met Krishna at Kurukshetra, she remembered the intimate association of Vrindavan, and she thought, now I have gained the Lord of my life, in whose absence I was being burned by the arrow of Cupid, and thus I was withering away. Now I have my life again. She's seeing Krishna in Kurukshetra. When this refrain was loudly sung by Sri Damodar, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began rhythmically dancing in transcendental bliss. The car of Lord Jagannath began to move slowly while the son of Mother Sachi went ahead and danced at the front. While dancing and singing, all the devotees in front of Lord Jagannath kept their eyes on him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to the end of the procession with the Sankirtan performers, his eyes and mind fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness. His eyes and mind fully absorbed in Lord Jagannath. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to play the drama of the song with his two arms. Guru Yadi Pachi Chali Shama Yastira Gauragi Chali Shama Pari Tira Tira. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dramatically enacting this song, he would sometimes fall behind the procession, and sometimes, at such times, Lord Jagannath would come to a standstill. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again went forward, Lord Jagannath's car would slowly start again. There was a sort of a competition between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Jagannath in seeing who would lead. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strong, he made Lord Jagannath visit his car. Purport. In his Anubhashya, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur he describes the ecstasy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as follows. After giving up the company of the gopis in Vrindavan, Sri Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, engaged in his pastimes at Dwarka. When Krishna went to Kurukshetra with his brother and sister, and others from Dwarka, he again met the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Bhava Dyuta Shvadita. That is, Krishna himself is assuming the part of Sri Mati Radharani in order to understand Krishna. Lord Jagannath Dev is Krishna and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radharani. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's leading Lord Jagannath towards Gundicha temple corresponds to Srimati Radharani's leading Krishna to Vrindavan. Sri Ketro Jagannath Puri was taken as the kingdom of Dwarka, the place where Krishna enjoys supreme opulence. But he was being led by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Vrindavan, a simple village where the inhabitants are filled with ecstatic love for Krishna. Sri Ketro is the place of Aishwarya Lila, just as Vrindavan is the place of Madhya Lila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu followed at the rear of the car indicates that Lord Jagannath, Krishna, was forgetting the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And although Krishna neglected the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he could not forget them. This is thus in this opulent Rath Yatra, he was returning to Vrindavan. In the role of Srimati Radharani, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was examining whether the Lord still remembered the inhabitants of Vrindavan. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell behind the Rath car, Jagannath Dev, Krishna himself, understood the mind of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, Jagannath sometimes fell behind the dancing of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to indicate Srimati Radharani that he had not forgotten. Thus, Lord Jagannath would stop the forward march of the Rath and wait at a standstill. In this way, Lord Jagannath agreed that without the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, he could not feel satisfied. While Jagannath was thus waiting, Gaur Sundara Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, immediately came forward to Krishna. And at such times, Lord Jagannath would proceed ahead very slowly. These competitive exchanges were all part of the love affair between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. In that competition between Lord Krishna's ecstasy for Jagannath and Jagannath's ecstasy for Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu emerged successful. While Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing, his ecstasy changed. Raising his two arms, he began to recite the following verse in a loud voice. That very personality who stole away my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breeze is blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am still the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy. I am eager to go back to that place, on the bank of the river, under the Vatasi tree. That is my desire. This verse appears in the Padyavali, 386. This verse was recited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again and again. But for Swarup Damodar, no one could understand its meaning. I have already explained this verse, now shall I describe it in brief. In this connection, one may see the Madhya Lila, chapter 1, 53 to 77, and 80, and 82 and 80. Formerly, all the gopis of Vrindavan were very pleased when they met with Krishna in the holy place of Kurukshetra. Similarly, after seeing Lord Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu awoke with the ecstasy of the gopis. Being absorbed in the ecstasy, he asked Sri Damodar to sing a refrain. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to Lord Jagannath. You are the same Krishna, and I am the same Radharani. We are meeting again in the same way as we met in the beginning of our lives. Although we are both the same, my mind is still attracted to Vrindavan Dham. I wish that you will also please appear there with your lotus feet in Vrindavan. In Kurukshetra there are crowds of people, elephants, horses, and also the rattling of chariots. But in Vrindavan there are flower gardens and humming of the bees, and the chirping of the birds can be heard. Here at Kurukshetra you are dressed like a royal prince, accompanied by many great warriors. But in Vrindavan, you appear just like an ordinary cowherd boy, accompanied only by your beautiful flute. Here is not even a drop of the ocean of transcendental happiness that I enjoyed with you in Vrindavan. I therefore request you that you come to Vrindavan and enjoy pastimes with me. If you do so, my ambition will be fulfilled. I have already described in brief Srimati Radharani's statement from the Srimad Bhagavatam. In that ecstatic mood, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited many other verses, but people in general could not understand their meaning. The meaning of these verses was known to Sri Damodar Goswami, but he did not reveal it. However, Sri Rupa Goswami has broadcast the meaning. While dancing, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to recite the following verse, which he tasted in association of Sri Damodar. The gopis spoke thus: Dear Lord, whose navel is like a lotus flower, your lotus feet are the only shelter for those fallen in the deep well of material existence. Your feet are worshipped and meditated upon by great mystic yogis and highly learned philosophers. We wish that these lotus feet may also be awakened within our hearts, although we are only ordinary persons engaged in household affairs. This is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:82-48. The gopis were never interested in karma yoga or jnana yoga, dhyana yoga. They were simply interested in bhakti yoga. Unless they were forced, they never liked to meditate on the lotus feet of the Lord. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya. The gopis were never interested in karma yoga, jnana yoga or dhyana yoga. They were simply interested in bhakti yoga. Unless they were forced, they never liked to meditate on the lotus feet of Krishna. Rather, they preferred to take the lotus feet of Krishna and place them on their breasts. Sometimes they regretted that their breasts were so hard, feeling that Krishna may not be very pleased to keep his soft lotus feet on them. When those lotus feet were pricked by the grains of sand in the Jamuna pasturing ground, the gopis were pained and began to cry. The gopis wanted to keep Krishna at home, always, and in this way their minds were absorbed in Krishna consciousness. Such pure Krishna consciousness arises only in Vrindavan. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to explain his own mind, which was situated in the ecstasy of the gopis. Speaking in this mood, Srimati Radharani, of Srimati Radharani, Caitanya Mahaprabhu said, for most people, the mind and heart are one. But because my mind isn't ever separated from Vrindavan, I consider my mind and Vrindavan to be one. My mind is already Vrindavan, and since you like Vrindavan, you please place your lotus feet there. I would deem that your full mercy. Purport. The mind's activities are thinking, feeling, and willing, by which the mind accepts materially favourable things and rejects the unfavourable things. This is the consciousness of people in general. When one's mind does not accept and reject, but simply becomes fixed in the lotus feet of Krishna, then the mind can be as good as Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna is, there is also Srimati Radharani. The gopis, the cowherd boys, and all the other inhabitants of Vrindavan. Thus, as soon as one fixes Krishna in his mind becomes identical with Vrindavan. In other words, when one's mind is completely free from material desires and engaged only in the service of Krishna consciousness, then one lives in Vrindavan and nowhere else. My dear Lord, kindly hear my true submission. My home is Vrindavan and I wish your association there. But if I do not get it, it will be very difficult for me to keep my life. Purport. Only when the mind is free from designation can one desire the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind must have some kind of occupation. If a person is to be freed from material things, his mind cannot be vacant. There must be some subject matters for thinking, feeling, and willing. Unless one's mind is filled with thoughts of Krishna, feeling for Krishna, and desires to serve Krishna, the mind will not be filled with material activities. Those who have given up the material activities and have ceased thinking of them should always retain the ambition to think of Krishna. Without Krishna, one cannot live, just as a person cannot live without some sense enjoyment for the mind.
Why does it say here that one's mind should be free from designations?
Only when the mind is free from designations can one desire the association of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What's your question?
Why does it say free from designations?
Yeah, free from designations means false identification. They are indesignated. False designation means I'm this body, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Bengali, I'm Christian. These are all identities, designations. We identify ourselves. Caitanya Caritamrita. So we become free from these identities and attain to our real identity, which is, what is real identity? According to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which slokas is good?
Servant of the servant of the servant of the master of gopis.
Yeah, I'm not a Brahmana, Katra, Vaishya, Shudra, Vanaprastha, Sannyas, Grihastha. I'm identifying myself as the servant of the master of the gopis, Sri Krishna. So that's our identity for the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he has accepted his identity. So his followers also accept that identity. That's the only identity we want. We don't. So many other identities are good. You go and see your wife, you have a different identity, or you relate to her as a husband, you go and see your friend, You have different relations. Kid goes home, he's related to as a son. Kid's seeing the parents, he's relating to himself as parent, and these are my son, my daughter. So they're all designations of the body, but we're not the body. So when we're free from all these designations and fixed in our real identity, then we can attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, unless the mind is filled with the thoughts of Krishna, feelings of Krishna, and desire to serve Krishna. Unless the mind is filled with thoughts of Krishna, so that's the beginning. So that's your sambandha. You want to be connected with thoughts to Krishna. That's the sambandha. And thoughts of Krishna, then feelings for Krishna. Feelings for Krishna. You want to put Krishna consciousness, you want to put it into activity. First it's just thoughts, you're connected by thought, and then you become serious and you connect more with with the desire to serve Krishna. Feeling for Krishna, then feeling to desire to serve, that's the abhidaya, the process of Krishna consciousness, serving Krishna. What is that? There must be some subject. Feeling. Unless the mind is filled with thoughts of Krishna, sambandha, feeling for Krishna, abhidaya, and a desire, always. Feeling for Krishna, desire to serve Krishna. That's the goal. The goal is to serve Krishna. So it's actually we say it's the goal is to serve Krishna, but again the service becomes a medium. Service becomes a medium to express our love for Krishna. So therefore, service has to be that. So he's saying he's a prayojana. So these three aspects, sambandha, abhidaya, and prayojana, Prabhu was summarized or indicated. Sambandha is to know Krishna. Abhidaya means to serve Krishna, and the prayojana means to love Krishna. It's to know Krishna, to serve Krishna, love Krishna. This is what you must always keep in your mind, fixed in your mind. How to know Krishna, how to
Sambandha prayojana together, one. Sambandha and prayojana is one meaning.
Well, there's also in prayojana there's also sambandha and abhidaya. In abhidaya there's also prayojana. I want to get this book, to make a contact, there's sambandha. When I get the book, there's sambandha. But also to get that sambandha means I have to get the book. So to get the book, I have to go through the process of sambandha, abhidaya, and prayojana. Then I've got the book. So they can act, you can mix them into meaning. Anyway, that's the idea. Always remembering Krishna, never get Krishna.
How to do that?
Here it says, forcibly, if you can't remember Krishna spontaneously or naturally, then forcibly you remember Krishna. That's sambandha, you're forcing. And then forcibly make it do some service for Krishna, absorb your mind in service to Krishna. But the idea of this service is for Krishna, it's not for me. Krishna, I'm performing this service for your pleasure, Krishna, not my pleasure. So first make a connection, then service with the proper attitude. This is for you, Krishna, it's not for me. And then you get the result. A natural attraction, a spontaneous attraction. So you have to put it into practice. You have to forcibly remember Krishna in the beginning. Then it will come automatically.
Before Shravanam Kirtanam, one time Shravanam Kirtanam, then remember.
Yeah. Shravanam Kirtanam begins. Hearing is most important in the beginning. If you don't hear, what can you chant? So first you hear Shravanam, then Kirtan. First you hear, then you've got something to chant, to talk about. You hear about Krishna and then speak about it. So first is hearing. And when you've heard, then you can chant. You repeat what you've heard from the books, from the acharyas. Yeah, Shravanam Kirtanam. But it begins with the tongue. Chanting. Tongue has two functions, chanting and eating.
Prasadam.
Eating. Good. So it begins with the tongue, Prabhupada said. Spiritual life begins with the tongue. The Mahaprasad, you can't purify it. Then the tongue can chant. Those who have given up all material activities and have ceased from thinking of them should always remain in the ambition of thinking of Krishna. Without Krishna one cannot live. Just one cannot live without some enjoyment for his mind. 640, 39. My dear Krishna, formerly when you were staying in Mathura, you sent Uddhava to teach me speculative knowledge and mystic yoga. Now you yourself are speaking of the same thing, but my mind does not accept it. There is no place in my mind for Gyan Yoga or Dhyan Yoga. Although you know it very well, still you are instructing me in Gyan and Yoga and Dhyan. It is not right for you to do so. Krishna is being chastised. Purport: the process of mystic yoga, the speculative method for searching out the supreme truth, does not appeal to one who is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. A devotee who is not at all interested in speculative activities, instead of cultivating speculative knowledge for practicing mystic yoga, the devotee should worship the deity in the temple and continuously engage in the Lord's service. Temple deity worship is realized by the devotee to be the same as direct service. Temple deity worship is realized by the devotee to be the same direct service of the Lord. The deity is known as Archa Vigraha or Archa Avatara, an incarnation of the Supreme Person in the God in the form of material manifestation, brass, stone, wood. Ultimately, there is no difference between Ultimately, there is no difference between Krishna's manifest in matter or Krishna manifested in spirit, because both are his energies. For Krishna, there is no distinction between spirit and matter. His manifestation in the material form is therefore as good as the original Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha form. A devotee constantly engages in deity worship. Look around the world. A devotee should constantly engage in deity worship according to the rules and regulations laid down in the Shastra and given by the spiritual master. It realizes gradually that he is in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he loses all interest in so-called meditation yoga, yogic practice and mental speculation. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram. So he's saying if you don't have direct connection with Krishna, then perform deity worship, follow all the rules and regulations of deity worship, and then you'll come to understand that Krishna is no different than this Archa Vigraha, Archa Murti. The Lord will reveal to his servant that you constantly engage in deity worship. According to all the rules and regulations laid down in the Shastras. That's what the orders that are given by the spiritual master. One gradually realizes that he's in direct contact with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he loses interest in all the other types of yoga. So, to remember Krishna is first class, always absorbed in Krishna. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. Which is best? Always remember Krishna or never to forget Krishna?
Always remember.
This balance. This balance. First, remember Krishna. This internal. Don't forget this external.
Yeah, always remembering Krishna. Means, always remember Krishna means Ragamargs, Raganuga Bhakti.
Yeah.
And never forgetting Krishna.
Very
is
sudden.
Very sudden Bhakti. We cannot remember Krishna spontaneously, okay, so we take to the deity worship and worship him through the rules and regulations of sadhana. Yes. Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vinaya. I like this. This section. Krishna Mahaprabhu was speaking to Jagannath. Very nice.
Yeah.
I once heard that, this, when you were saying this pastime of Mahaprabhu saying that you are the same Krishna and the same Radharani. I heard something similar you said, what you read in Navadip Bhavataranga.
Navadip Bhavataranga, yeah. Yeah, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was explaining that. When Mahaprabhu came to Navadvip after he'd taken sannyas. And he went on the house of Yasyaswati, on the roof of his house, and gave darshan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was saying that Navadvip Bhavataranga, he's saying that I come to see you're standing before me now on the roof with a sannyasi dress, no hair, shaved head, danda. Oh, he'd never done it. Threw it away. He's saying you are my worshipful Lord. I know that. But when I see you just as a sannyas or renunciant, you're the same. It's the same Krishna, the same person I'm seeing. But he said, just like the gopis, when they met Krishna at Kurukshetra, they had the hearts, they wanted to take him back to Vrindavan. And similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, seeing you in his sannyas vesh, sannyasi dress, but I prefer to see you with your long dhoti and your long flowing hair. This is the Krishna we want. So you please kindly come back to me. Yeah, it's the same mood is there. Anyway, tomorrow, in a few days. Hare Krishna.